All right, good evening and welcome everyone to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the regular season finale of the Area 51 Racing League Indy Series here tonight at Kentucky. Drivers make their qualifying laps right now, so points going to be crucial. Top 8 in points, obviously that's going to be kind of what everybody's keeping an eye on tonight. I'm going to say drivers feeling pretty good. Probably all they're thinking about tonight, Steve, are going to be those bonus points. Henry Bennett, I'll say we talked about the wins, of course, giving you those bonus points. So Henry Bennett, he's got the 3 wins. He leads by 60. Matt Wagner, he's got 1 win so far this season. Charles Teed, of course, his 3 wins to open up the season. He's going to hope to try to get number 4 tonight as well to kind of give himself some momentum going into the playoffs. And then you see Eric Schaus there in 4th. No wins, but he has had a top 5, or top 10, I should say, in every race so far. And then in 5th, you've got Chad Wilkes with his 1 win, 5 top 5s, 5 top 10s. Craig Forsyth 6th. And then for me, Steve, the drivers I'm going to be watching in the points are going to start with that 7th place of David Payton. You see, he's got 191 points right now, so he's got 21 points to the good over that 8th place on the bubble of Anders Arhus. But, I mean, we've seen some pretty big point swings happen before. Jim Brooks, he is about 11 points behind Anders. And then you see about 15 points between Anders and Benjamin Combs, and then Michael Spell just 3 points behind him. So to me, I think what we're going to be watching is really going to be right between that 7th to about 11th positions in the points. I think those guys are going to be the ones that really have a good chance of kind of shaking things up tonight.
Yeah, and I think really, with the playoff system that they're running, it doesn't matter that much who finishes 1st and 2nd in the points, because we know that the top 6 are almost definitely going to make it into the playoffs. And then if they're doing it the way I think they are, everything resets to 0, and they're all even again. So the big battle, like you're saying, is going to be for that final playoff spot, the 8th spot. I'd say the 7th spot is possibly at risk, but like you said, David Payton is 21 points ahead of Anders Arhus, who's on the bubble, and I don't see him getting knocked out.
Yeah, you definitely, of course, you want to have as much buffer as you can. So I mean, you're probably feeling pretty good, but I mean, you just never know with these races. And so I'm looking right now, looking at our qualifying laps, and so it's a lot of what we just talked about. The guys that are going to be right there are going to be doing exactly that. So. And we talked about this before the race too, Steve. So there's always the bonus point for pole position. There's a bonus point for gaining the most positions during the race. So if let's say you start towards the back, you wind up front, you can get a bonus point there as well. So I think that's going to be another strategy that it looks like a handful of drivers might be employing tonight, because I'm seeing 15 that put down a qualifying lap, and I believe, speaking of which, qualifying just has completed here. So what we'll do is we'll go over our starting grid for tonight. So we just mentioned, Steve, as we're talking about Charles Teed wanting to maybe kind of get the momentum going back in the right direction. So he's off to a good start here, getting that pole position by 0.06 of a second over Henry Bennett. There's Matt Wagner there in 3rd, Chad Wilkes in 4th, Anders Arhus, just talked about him on the bubble in that 5th spot. Then you got Jimmy Dryden, Michael Spell, Craig Forsyth rounding out our top 8. Then 9th through 16th, you've got Alec Coates, Julian Altina, Bud Steele, David Payton, Todd Merkel, Ivan Pla, Benjamin Combs are those drivers that put down a qualifying lap. And then 16th on back, they opted not to put down a qualifying lap, including James Ledford in the 48. And then 17 will be Eric Schaus, Robbie Richards, and 18th, Dwight Plush, Jim Brooks, and Gary Corley are the 21 drivers taking part in tonight's event.
It's interesting that Jim Brooks, who's sitting on that bubble or outside the bubble right now, 11 points behind Anders Arhus, chose not to qualify. So I assume he did that probably because he's going for that bonus point of gaining the most positions. But it's going to be a rough go for him to get all the way up where he needs to be to gain enough points on Anders.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a strategy. I think just, yeah, it's you kind of have to try something. So we saw, I mean, we were looking at practice speed, Steven. It seemed like he was up there in the practice charts, but maybe just didn't feel like he could back it up in qualifying. And so, I mean, and we've seen a lot of drivers been doing that. I say Eric's been one that we talked about before where a few seasons ago he was qualifying, trying to be up front and just kind of control the races. But then after that, he kind of toned it down a notch, if you will, and decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to kind of just take it a little bit easier and try to work my way through the front. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it comes out tonight. Say the one driver that I think we will want to keep an eye on the strategy side of things will be that 72 Eric Schaus. We've seen him kind of seems like he makes a pretty good habit of being able to work his way to the front, even starting towards the back of the field.
Something I was thinking about, Kyle. Jim Brooks sitting on that one spot outside the bubble. I had a situation like that in my league that I race on Wednesdays, and actually made it up to where I'd crossed the bubble and I was in the playoff spot, and somebody I'm really good friends with ran into me, so it ended that chance. I hope that Jim Brooks doesn't have any friends in this race.
Yeah, I'd say that would be unfortunate. So I don't know who the terrible person would be that would get into the back of you to ruin your playoff chances. But I say whoever he is, he better feel really guilty. we won't name names, but that person might be in the same broadcast booth with Steve here this evening. So you're right, though. I mean, and that's the thing, Steve, is like you get in these positions though, and it's so tense, and it makes it so difficult to be in these kinds of positions. So that's why if you're in that top 5, top 6 positions, you're feeling pretty good about things. But then, like I said, though, if you're a little bit further back around that bubble, it's just so stressful going into this. So it's gonna be exciting to see. Duty mentioned 100 laps is the race distance tonight. That is gonna be the race distance. If the yellow falls, it could end under yellow. Hopefully, it does not, as we are down and away. As Charles Teed's gonna lead the field here to the green.
And one of the things that we didn't get to talk about yet is how these cars drive. This is basically flat out through 1 and 2, and almost flat out through 3 and 4. But one of the things Gael got some intelligence on, and that I experienced when I was testing, there's a lot of push in turn 3 and 4, and there's a specific technique you can use, and maybe some adjustments to the car to make some of that go away. But the aero push there is extremely bad. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys are able to handle that. And if we have some solo accidents, it's probably going to be people hitting the wall coming off at turn 4.
Well, right now it's not for lack of effort. Right now these guys are going at it right off the bat there. You saw Charles Teed, Matt Wagner, Henry Bennett were running 3 wide there for that first lap, basically. I think Charles Teed just eked out the lap lead that last time around, but now Matt Wagner, he's been able to sneak away to the front here in that 11 car. So now I'll say he's going to lead Charles Teed, Henry Bennett. But yeah, you're exactly right, Steve. 1 and 2. I'll say for those that maybe are familiar with the reconfigured tracks, let's say Kentucky and Texas, they're very similar but almost inverted. Where Kentucky, you've got the really, really fast 1 and 2. And you can, as I say, with these cars, should be no problem flat footing, and maybe just got to keep a little clean air on the front wings of these cars. 3 and 4, you might have to breathe it a little bit, maybe have to lift off just a little bit as well, especially if you're in that draft. But then saying like Texas, it's kind of the opposite, whereas 1 and 2 is a slow turn, 3 and 4, your foot to the floor there as well. So I say those reconfigurations, they've really changed the way that the track feels for these drivers here. But I think for the Indy cars, I feel like those changes actually do work pretty well here. Which right now, say field's kind of strung out just a little bit. Craig Forsyth, he's in a good battle here though, Steve, right around the top 5 with Jimmy Dryden.
Yep, but I wonder, Jimmy has definitely showed some speed lately, and just had some breaks not go his way. So hopefully he can keep it up there all race.
Yeah, and I said
it's great. It's also great to see Craig up there battling with these guys again.
Yeah, I mean, for Craig to be able to actually be in contention for this championship after tonight's race, after going through the surgery he went through, racing with the hand controls for a handful of races, yeah, just the commitment and dedication that he's shown in that 27 car is just amazing to see and be a part of. So again, actually, just kind of in the background there, Michael Spell, I think he just caught the outside wall off of turn 2. So we'll see if that affects the handling. So he may have maybe light enough of a touch to not hurt him too bad. So front wing looks okay from where I'm looking at, but I say that's going to be something that'll definitely catch your attention for these drivers.
And let's see, David Payton tried to make a move on Craig Forsyth, but wasn't able to get under him. I noticed that Henry Bennett is really starting to put the pressure on Matt Wagner up front right now.
Yeah, and something to note about David too, Steve, is he's gone from 12th to 7th in these opening couple of laps, so really strong opening stint for David. So we talked about him, of course, kind of maybe not feeling super comfortable where he was, but still having a nice little buffer. So David doing what he needs to do, and like you said, though, Henry Bennett, he's now trying to work the top side over Matt Wagner. But I don't think Matt's going to want to give him that inside line, so I think Henry's going to be kind of forced to run this top groove here. Also at Kentucky, you say that trial was also kind of a bit of an oddity too, where if you try to follow that yellow line, it really doesn't follow it perfectly through the trial, so you might have to cut it a little bit at points just to kind of keep your car in a safe position.
So let's take a look at our bubble drivers. Right now, Anders Arhus is right where he needs to be to stay in the playoffs, and let's see, David Payton is well within where he needs to be. Michael Spell is in 11th. Benjamin Combs is in 13th. And Jim Brooks has made it up to 16th. So the three of them are having a pretty good battle with each other. But so far, none of them are up there able to get ahead of Anders Arhus, who's in, let's see, 8th position.
Yeah, right now, Anders definitely doing exactly what he needs to do here. Started to 5th, dropped a few spots back to 11th, but I don't think he's going to be too concerned about that at this point. He's in a really nice little pocket, because you see how dicey it is up here with these front couple guys. I see one in the grass here, some smoke, I should say. It's the 81 of Todd Merkel. He's trying to keep it along the pit wall. I think he's going to try to loop it around once it's safe. He's going to wait for that 31, I believe, of Julian Altina. And then once he goes by, there goes Craig. He's going to spin it around, and actually that's going to bring out the yellow. So unfortunately, a spin by Todd Merkel will bring out the first caution of the evening here. That's going to be at lap number 14. And this is now where the strategy is going to come in here, Dale. Sorry, I was reading Dale's chat in the thing. My brain reads one thing, so I have to say it. But this is where pit strategy come in here, Steve, because we're on lap 14 here with the caution coming out. Now the question is, you could go, it sounds like about 30, mid to low 30s on fuel. So they could go probably about 20 more laps, I'd say, at least. So the question now, of course, is this, if you're in the front, do you risk the track position, or do you keep it? And then this is where you can kind of start gambling if you're some of those guys a little further back, like Jim Brooks and the 88 of Michael Spell and company. So this is going to be very interesting to see what they do here.
That laps being a third of a tank of fuel. I would pit.
And we got a mixed bag here. Looks like Henry Bennett's going to be the first and one of the few to come in here. Alec Coates going to go with him. Michael Spell is going to hit the pits as well. And surprisingly, actually, Jim Brooks, he stays out. I would really, at that point, if you're that far back, I would have stayed out personally, or I would have pitted, I should say, personally. So I'm going to have a little bit of a mixed bag here on the pit stop strategy, kind of like we suspected.
I think it kind of depends on how many people ahead of him pitted. I mean, if he can pick up enough spots to get within spitting distance of Anders Arhus, then it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It looks like with the cycle through, Jim's going to move up to 12th. Anders will be in 7th, so about 5 spots between them. But again, you mentioned those starting positions. Jim qualified 20th, so that's going to put him up to 12th, and so plus 8 for him in that scenario. I was reading up on our YouTube chat. That's where I got kind of tongue tied there. We are graced back with the presence of Rachel. She's done kind of helping out with the babies in the family, so it looks like she's back here joining us in the chat. So Rachel, always a pleasure to have you. And then Dale, I'll say Dale's joining actually for Rachel's commentary, so well, we might have to look into hiring her for some future broadcasts as well.
So we can have her as a color commentator.
And I'll say, well, the only disclaimer is there may be a little bit of bias from Rachel here.
But we can always get the inside scoop on what Eric's doing.
That's true. But yeah, so I think what we see here, though, Steve, I think this is these guys that are staying out. Again, I think they're going for the strategy of just, I think, again, the bonus points. Like you said, I think everybody, like you said, they reset back to 0 basically, but I believe there is I don't know if it's a 5 or 10 point bonus for the win. So say right now, Matt Wagner, he's got the 1 win, whereas Charles Teed and the 007 of Henry Bennett, they've got the 3 wins. So if you're Matt Wagner, you're going to want to try to get that bonus point and close that gap, because we know how difficult it is. And the way the playoffs are going to work is it's going to be two races to break that top 8 down to the top 4. And that third race is going to be the final 4 racing it out for the title. So yeah, so a lot of I'll say there's going to be a lot of strategy, I think, also come into play once we do kick off the playoff segment here.
So it's basically a 3-race playoff?
Yes, yeah, it's a 3-race playoff, kind of similar to the NASCAR system where you start eliminating drivers, just a little bit of a shorter one. So those first 2 will bring it from the 8 to 4, then that final race will be the winner take all of the top 4. Oh, we're also graced with the presence of Rachel's dad, David, in here too. So we've got all sorts of Shouse fans over here. So I say it would be unfair if I don't show that 72 car here tonight. So say right now he is in the 16th position after making that pit stop here. And I'll say the other thing I noticed, Dale, is you saw the 76 car. We've seen that colorful paint scheme week in and week out. So it's always one easy to stand out in the field. But one car that's kind of got a little bit of a similar look to it, to me at least, is that 77 of Benjamin Combs. It's kind of got that same, some of the same color schemes, at least to me. Like it almost feels like a little bit of almost like a teammate type paint scheme on that 77 car. I don't know if it's by chance or not, but I'll say those two definitely have a little bit some similarities to the two of them.
So wait, similarities between which two?
The 72 and the 77.
Okay, I always watch from, almost always from the Blimpie cam, as one of our broadcasters on another network likes to say. And looking from that view, it's the cars are very different, because Eric's car is basically just all green.
Well, just prove me wrong again here, Steve. That's all right.
Benjamin Combs is. Let's see, he's got a yellow front spoiler and pink body and green things behind it. All right, here we go, getting ready to restart.
Yep, yeah, restart is pending here. So Matt Wagner, he's got control of this restart, and it looks like he is down and away because he immediately drops to the apron, shorten that front stretch here to try to build as much gap as he can. But it's not going to take more than about half a lap before that number 5 of Charles Teed's going to pick up the tow from that number 11 car, and I say that's going to bring him right back to that gearbox.
And these guys did a good job. They do single file restarts in this league, and as we've seen many times, they often get an accordion effect going back through the field. But thankfully, not much of that at all for this last restart.
Yeah, they've gotten really good at that, and yeah, so right now, like you said, though, they're starting to single out again a little bit, try to pick up the momentum. Chad Wilkes looks like he's trying to. Oh, that's right. I went to the wrong car number. Saying Chad Wilkes looking to the inside. He's trying to work over Charles Teed. Now does get to the inside of that number 5. So Chad moving up into that second position now. And as things stand right now, I want to say Chad might be in the playoffs for, at least in the hunt for the playoffs for all 3 series here this season with Area 51. Obviously the Indy series here tonight, then of course the Cup side on Thursdays, and then Super Speedway as well. So Say Chad might be going for a trifecta of titles this season if he can kind of hit things off perfectly. And it is getting busy behind him though with that 5, the 99, and the 27 here for that third spot.
Yeah, it really is. I may have missed something. Did Henry Bennett hit?
Yes, Henry Bennett did pit there in the 007. He was the first of those to pit. So that's why he is back where he is running that top groove right now here. And as I saw on the restart there, I think he had gotten by Jim Brooks, but I think may have let the spot go. Just again, kind of the accordion effect, try to back things off a little bit, avoid any troubles there. So right now Henry's the first of those that did pit. He has not gained any spots as of yet, but I think he's kind of playing the long game here, just gonna I think try to save some fuel in there. We got some info on the paint scheme. I was saying, actually, as we watch him, Benjamin Combs in that 77 car. That is Team Watson Racing. So appreciate the info there from Sunshine. So able to get some info on that 77 car. So I'd say again, it's a good looking paint scheme. I'd say you got the colors that help it really stand out. And saying that's one thing that for me at least I like to look for is those cars that you see them, you're like, okay, I know exactly who that is. Like for me, obviously I'm familiar with my dad's stuff, but he runs a 76 scheme, so say pretty much always do the Unical paint scheme, so you see that blue and orange, and for me it's pretty quick to be like, okay, yep, I know who that is.
Yeah, I'm the same way, especially with the Indy cars, because it's almost impossible for us to see the numbers, and if you're looking at the side view, I mean, you can't really see the sponsors, so really about all you have to look at is the paint schemes.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. I say the paint schemes definitely go a long way. So I know Matt Wagner, he kind of switched his a little bit midway through the season. Robert Wicken's one of his favorite racers, so he kind of was able to hop onto that paint scheme to support his favorite driver there. So it's pretty cool to see Matt Wagner be able to do that, and right now putting it in pretty good use right now here. Let's say we're on lap 26 of this run, Steve, so we talked about that fuel window. I believe the leaders probably can go again about, I would say, 10 more laps, maybe stretch one or so more out of it, just due to the fact that they had that those caution laps. But right now, Matt Wagner has been able to sneak away just a little bit, not too far from Chad Wilkes. Chad's definitely keeping him honest in this 21 car, but they've been able to separate a little bit, though, from Jimmy Dryden and Craig Forsyth in 3rd and 4th.
And I'm checking out Jim Brooks. He's gained one spot since we went back to green, up to 11th. And Henry Bennett was right behind him. They were in 12th and 13th. Henry Bennett is still in 13th. And Benjamin Combs, who's also fighting for that last playoff spot, is right behind Jim Brooks.
Yeah, so they're all in pretty close proximity. While you were talking about that, we were watching 17 and Chad Wilkes tried to make a move, did get underneath Matt Wagner inside on turn 3, but it looks like the top side just got the momentum you need. And you can see it cost him a handful of tenths of a second, I'd say a handful of car lengths really, especially. So now it's actually brought him right back to the 99 of Jimmy Dryden, Craig Forsyth, and do need to mention David Payne. We talked about him earlier. He's now up into the top 5, so he's gone from 12th to 5th so far in this run. So yeah, David Payne definitely having a strong showing here early. Yeah, so now jump back to that battle you're talking about. So you see Robbie Richards there right in front of Jim Brooks, and then in front of Robbie is the 75 of Ivan Pla, and then also Bud Steele right there in the 6th car in this mix as well. So you got 4 cars here, pretty tight proximity here. So this is where that arrow push really comes into play. You saw Jim get really wide there off the exit of 2. So that should be, in theory, the easier corner really. So say this is where you got to be real careful and kind of just mind your distance from the cars and make sure you kind of keep that little bit of fresh air on the nose of it.
And he was doing a pretty good job of sticking with those cars, but he's fallen back a teeny bit now. I thought he was going to get by Robbie Richards a little while ago, and now he's closing in again.
Yeah, it just seems to be all about the momentum. I just noticed Henry Bennett, I think he's just grabbed a couple spots as well. Now Henry's going to move up into the 12th position. Again, right now, Henry, the first of those that's on the kind of on the full fuel run that some of these guys topping off. So, however, he's been able to bring a couple with him. Alec Coates is one. He's now right behind him as well. They're only on lap number 18 of their run. So, again, they can run about 15 or so laps longer than the leaders, I would presume here. So say we're just gonna. Oh, as I say that, my iRacing just crashed, Steve. So I'm gonna have to let you do some play-by-play here for a minute while I get everything pulled back up.
Am I still here, Gael?
Yes, you are. So unfortunately, my iRacing crashed on me, so I'm going to try to get it reloaded here very quickly, but I'll have to have you kind of update what's going on here.
Mine crashed as well. I wonder if it crashed for everyone.
Well, we could have a rain delay then. We'll have to wait and see. So we'll give us a moment. We're going to try to get everything back up and running. Yeah, I don't have an Arby's commercial queued up, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'll say if anybody wants to do a text chat Arby's commercial, by all means feel free. And so I'm getting my stuff fired back up here. All right, so I'll say what we can do mention though, Steve, is I'd say we were probably about 10 laps away or so from the leaders having to make their pit stops, or actually more by 5 actually. So probably by the time we get back in here, pit stops will be occurring. So we'll try to keep you up to date on that one. And yeah, so according to Rachel, Eric has taken the lead here, so she wants to go ahead and call the race at this point. So it sounds like there's rain in the vicinity at Kentucky here. Alright, and we are back over here. So now showing, say again, a lot of pit stops happening as we're watching everything going on. Jimmy Dryden now showing as the race leader. Oh, and as I say that, caution has just come out in the middle of the pit stop cycle. And trying to find out where the 31 Julian Altina looks like he took a pretty big shot here, Steve. This is going to put us under caution during that pit stop cycle, and that was the concern here. Of staying out versus pitting. So unfortunately 31 getting the worst end of that one. So I think we'll be able to pull up and see what happened here.
I'm still connecting, so I'm blind at the moment.
No worries, I'll try to help you out. So say we're watching that number 31 of Julian Altina. He was one of those that I believe that did top off under that caution. So we're watching him now here in 3 and 4. We're running the top side here. And one thing they did mention was the car does get loose. Actually, as I look in front of him, you see a lot of smoke in front there. So actually somebody had some issues further ahead here. And I think Julian, unfortunately, is just at the wrong place at the wrong time. So we'll try to take a look and see. Oh, and yeah, that's going to be a bad deal for him. I think that was the 6 of Bud Steele. It was. So let's go back once more here and see what happened to Bud here. I think this may have been Bud's pit entry. I think he may have just got loose trying to get it woe down here. Oh, he catches the apron, Steve. He caught the yellow line there in 3 and 4, and we talked about that with these Indy cars. You just cannot do that. But then unfortunately just goes right up the top of the track, hits the wall, and then brings him back down across the path of that number 31. So actually nothing Julian did wrong, just nothing he could do. However, Julian drilled the side of that 6 car of Bud Steele, unfortunately. As you see, Henry Bennett, he snuck on by, as does Eric Schaus. And then Julian Altina just blinded from the smoke, just right into the right rear quarter panel of that number 6 car.
Yeah, we've seen those kind of accidents on pit entry before, so that's pretty rough.
And it does look like, it sounds like it was an iRacing issue though, Steve, because it looks like we did have a handful of drivers drop due to this one. Because I'm looking now and I see a lot of drivers that aren't on track or multiple laps down. Let's say I'm showing Jim Brooks being 6 laps down along with Dwight Plesh, Craig Forsyth. We know that wasn't the case for them. I see Ivan Pla, Charles Teeter 4 laps down. So I'm thinking, yeah, I think there may have been a little bit of a connection hiccup, unfortunately, which it looks like it's put a lot of people in a really bad position here.
Yeah, definitely. That's really rough for our playoff contenders. And there's no way that they went down. They went that far down in that shorter time by something happening on the track.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So yeah, just really unfortunate. We got so right now Jimmy Dryden going to be our race leader. Let's say we do have a handful of drivers that are either on the tail end of one lap or maybe tail end of two down, going to try to get one of those laps back. So yeah, so say going to be a lot of cars trying to kind of recover from this here and see what they can do. So it puts the admins in a tough spot as well because it's one of those things that I mean, what do you do in this kind of a situation? Do they adjust the running orders or things like that? Especially because it wasn't just a one person thing; it was a service issue. So I'll say I'm not sure what they'll be able to do here, but yeah, it just unfortunately puts these guys in a tough spot as well. And I'm saying Rachel's right though. Say kind of like the Marvel Thanos situation here, where say fingers snapped and a handful of drivers kind of at random, unfortunately, got the wrong end of the stick there.
We've had this happen in other leagues I've been in, and depending on the number of cars that get dropped, they can sometimes call it a rain out, but that doesn't seem to be the case here, at least not now.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're able to maybe peek into the radio communication if anybody's able to do so. I'll say the tough part about that too is I mean Jim Brooks, I mean one of the drivers tonight is one of the admins as well, so it's hard to kind of balance the driving, racing, and then also doing the admin work as it goes on here. So we just got the one to green though, so we're going to see a handful of wave rounds here. It's going to cycle things over to Jimmy Dryden in the 99 car, and so now just trying to see who is where. On track, so it looks like we're gonna have 11 cars still on the lead lap. Benjamin Combs is going to be one down along with Anders Arhus. Those two are trapped one lap down. Then Bud Steele, Julian Altina, they're in that incident. They're trapped 2 laps down. And then Charles Teed, Ivan Plow 4 down. Jim Brooks, Craig Forsyth, Dwight Plush 6 laps down. So right now the lights have not come back on the pace car to see if maybe they were going to do anything to try to help people out to get things back in order. So I think right now it just might be unfortunately just one of those. We have seen some crazy situations that have put some drivers, some teams in a bad spot in real life. So it might be kind of what they're going with here tonight as well.
So let's look at how this affects the playoff bubble, because Anders Arhus, who was well within where he needed to be, was apparently affected by that, or maybe by the pit stops. But he is now back in 13th. Benjamin Combs is just ahead of him in 12th. So he's certainly got Benjamin, and he's got Jim Brooks, who's unfortunately 6 laps down. But Michael Spell, who came in here 18 points behind Anders Arhus, is now sitting there in 5th position. And that puts him in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, that's exactly right. Puts him in a top 5 position right now. So yeah, I mean a lot can change obviously. So however, now Jimmy Dryden, he's been able to kind of benefit from all this. He's going to take over the points here. We talked about David Payton as well. I mean, David, now he was kind of maybe not. He wasn't obviously in a bad spot, but obviously you always want to be a little more comfortable. But now he's sitting in that 2nd position. Henry Bennett there in 3rd. But I don't think David Payton, I don't think he's going to be points racing here, Steve. He's already looking to the top of that 99 car. We've seen that 38 car's had a lot of speed throughout this race, and he's going to work the top side here through 3 and 4. We'll see if maybe David Payton might be able to take the point here. Oh, say Jimmy Dryden, he's got to be careful there, running the apron in the travel a little bit. So these cars, they do not react well to banking transitions. He's able to hang on to it, but man, that makes me nervous when he does that.
Yeah, it made me a little nervous too. During practice, I was testing the apron on the front stretch, because we use that in cup cars all the time, to see what that did. And you and I have definitely experienced in these cars on some of the tracks when you touch that apron, you go around. But I guess the way this track is laid out, you can actually use that apron on the front stretch. But apparently, you really have to be careful how you use it. any of the aprons or how you touch them.
Yeah, aprons and Indy cars are definitely a tough combo to have. So, fortunately, David Payton was not able to grab the spot, and that's actually allowed, he lost momentum. That's allowed the 007 Henry Bennett. He's now back up into that second position here. Let's say, so BC David is going to try to fight back, has to roll out just a little bit here. Because right now we're at 54 to go in this one, Steve. Again, we talked about that fuel window being in that mid-30s range. So, say everybody's going to have to make one more pit to the end here. So right now though, things again, everybody's trying to get recycled a little bit here to where they were. I'll say a few of those, of course, that kind of got the worst end of the stick were the 11 of Matt Wagner, Chad Wilkes, 21. They kind of got trapped a lap down from that caution, so they had to take that wave around here. So they're going to try to obviously kind of start clawing their way back up through the field here.
Did everybody pit under that last yellow?
The ones that took a wave around definitely did not. I'm not sure the rest of the way though. Unfortunately, my timing scoring definitely not going to be accurate as things run here. However, I was about to say we're having a good fight for the lead here, and this is gonna be interesting. We see Henry Bennett. He's running the low side here. We saw before the top side really had some big momentum on the exit, and Jimmy's able to do exactly that. Keep that top spot using that outside momentum, and it's really pulled David Payton back along as well. As you see now, Henry trying to run the low side. He's got to be careful again about that aero wash. But right now we've got about 5 cars right up in this lead pack because it's also brought Eric Schaus, Michael Spell right up into the mix here.
Yeah, suddenly we have a great battle going on up front.
Yeah, we just crossed the halfway point in the race here as well, so we've got 50 to go. And we talked about Jimmy Dryden. I mean, we saw him at Milwaukee where once he got the point, I mean, he was tough to beat. He was really fast, and I had actually talked to him after the race, and so it was unfortunate, just the mistakes. We were wondering about his pace when everything cycled through. He had short pitted there, and what happened at Milwaukee was unfortunately just did not take tires during that pit stop, and I say just unfortunately just a mistake on his part. But yeah, I mean, it really hurt his pace there, but I think it didn't show what he could have actually done had everything gone to plan for him.
Henry Bennett's trying everything he can. He tried the low line to get past Jimmy Dryden, and then he tried the high line. He actually was side by side with him off 3 and 4 down the front stretch, and Jimmy was able to get a better run through turns 1 and 2 and stay ahead. So it's a good battle between these two, and David Payton is closed in on him now too.
Yeah, saying we're getting more people joining the mix here. Say Matt Wagner, he is wasting no time in that 11 car. He is back up now into that 7th position, and saying he is really close to. He's going to have the toe of these guys. So say we're going to have now 7 cars, probably 8 cars. It looks like Gary Corley, he's going to join this party as well. I said we'll jump back up front. So I think another lead battle here again. Henry Bennett on the outside, Jimmy Dryden on the inside. But yeah, I mean, these guys are all starting to kind of bottle up right back to one another here.
Henry Bennett's trying all different kinds of lines through 3 and 4.
I think this is Henry's best chance right here, Steve. So he got far enough ahead where he might be able to make it happen if he can keep that momentum up through 1 and 2 here. But again, that shorter distance, I'll say that this is that faster corner there through 3 and 4. And just didn't pan out, but now again it brings David Payton right into it, and also Michael Spell. He's jumped up to the 4th position, gotten around to Eric Schaus here. So I'd say Michael's thinking about the points. He wants to try to get max points in that 88 car. I'll say you never want to have bad luck, but I mean if you get the opportunity, you're gonna have to try to capitalize on other drivers' bad luck as well.
Yeah, most definitely. So I think the only way that Henry Bennett's going to get the lead here is he's going to have to get completely past Jimmy Dryden before they get into 1 and 2 so that he can pull down and take the low line. But other than that, every time they go in there side by side or almost side by side, the low line just has so much more momentum around that turn.
Yeah, so I hopped on board here with Matt Wagner. So he caught this group and he's wasting no time with it. Do you need to mention... now you see Eric Schaus, he's working over the 88 of Michael Spell again. I say Matt Wagner, he's working with Alec Coates here, trying to see if he can grab that spot as well. So, yeah, right now we've got all of these guys all fighting for positions here. You got 1st and 2nd side by side still. And actually, missed how it happened, but this time Henry Bennett was able to get to the inside through the tri-oval, and that's going to give Henry Bennett the lead here over Jimmy Dryden down the back.
And now Jimmy Dryden is trying to use the momentum from the outside to take that position back.
Oh, yep, caution is out. Just saw the 17 car. That was Robbie Richards there in the trial, so that's going to bring out a yellow. This is going to be a big break for a lot of drivers to give them an opportunity to kind of recycle through here. I believe with that caution, I'm trying to see where everybody was sitting on track with related to one another. It looks like Benjamin Combs was ahead of that number 70. Sorry, the 77 was ahead of the 10 of Anders Aarhus, so I believe Benjamin's going to get his lap back in that 77 car.
Yep, that's what I'm seeing on my standings. So Benjamin Combs, another one in the running for that bubble spot.
Yeah, so let's see what happened to the 17 here. So you're watching 17 of Robbie Richards. He's side by side with the 31 of Julian Altina here through 3 and 4. And so we'll go back and take a closer look. It looks like just a little bit of net code between the two of them here as they enter the turn. Can't get a great angle on it, unfortunately. But unfortunately, it just sends Robbie straight into the outside wall, and then from there, he's just along for the ride. Tries to get it off the wall, but then just loops around on him. So we'll jump back up front, though, Steve, because we got some pit stops with our leaders. And it looks like Henry's going to win the race off of pit road. But it wouldn't be an Area 51 race without somebody gambling, Steve. So, who do you think might be the gambler tonight?
I cheated, but I'm gonna say Eric Schaus.
Saying Eric's gonna probably have a lot of people mad at him here, I would think, because if you look between the 72 car and where the 007 Henry Bennett is, you've got about 8 cars there that probably want to take the wave around here. But I'd say with Eric staying out, it's going to be trapping them all one down here or more, of course. I said I don't suspect we'll see Eric pit here to fall back to the back here. And the strategy he's going with here, Steve, is he no matter what, he's still going to have to make one more stop. Same thing for those guys, too. Well, let's see. We're at 41 to go, be 40 to go. I don't think anybody can stretch it that far. But I think what he's banking on here is he thinks everybody's going to have to make another pit stop, and so I think that's where he's opting for this track position. So, like I said, this does burn a few drivers here, and actually a few drivers also decide not to pit there. Which, if you're on the tail end of the lead lap, if you're a lap down, I think you should have probably pitted there, because otherwise you're going to have to pit under green not too long later. So we're have to. It's gonna be dicey here, Steve. It's gonna be interesting because right now the only car one down is that 10 of Anders Aarhus, but Anders did not pit there, Steve, so he can only go probably about 10-15 more laps. So if you're that 10 car, I feel like you probably should have jumped in there. It might be a missed opportunity, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think so too, because I'm looking at the math. Michael Spell, well, I'm showing him in 6th right now, and it's 2 points per position between him and Anders Aarhus, who's in 12th. So we're talking 12 points difference, and he needs to be 18 just to tie.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I'd say the one thing Anders does have going for him, of course, depending on how this run goes, he is the only car one lap down, so he'll be able to hopefully be in a good position. The other thing I'm not sure about, Steve, as well is with Eric staying out and having all these cars that are lapped in between himself and Henry Bennett, I don't know if IndyCar, I feel like they let them hold their position, so Eric Schaus might actually have about a 5 or 4 car cushion, looks like, between himself and Henry Bennett possibly here.
That would be especially nice.
So you see Henry creeping up. I'm not sure if it's going to let him buy them or not. It looks like it actually might be. So my theory might be completely wrong there, unfortunately. So yeah, it looks like I am completely off guard. I think you have the option of setting that on the server settings. You can match it for the actual Indy series versus like having the lap cars fall to the back. So disregard what I said. However, one driver that did top off here, Steve, on this one to go is that 88 of Michael Spell. So this might be that roll the dice strategy for the 88. So we're going to restart here with 38 to go. If we go green, could he stretch that number?
If it stays green, I don't know. I think it's gonna be pretty tough, from at least from what you told me. You said they could probably make around 30 laps, right?
No, I think it's actually more like mid 30s, depending on the draft inside. And Michael's been one that I kind of actually, when I hop in the server, I try to ask some of the drivers to kind of get their fuel numbers, and I say Michael's usually one that gives me some of his numbers too. So I mean, if he can maybe adjust his fuel mixture, if he can also use some draft, I mean, this isn't out of the question for him to be able to stretch some fuel mileage here. And also, David Brown made a good point as well. This could also be a strategy for Erica, just trying to get a lap lead under his belt in that 72 car here. So we're going to have a difference here of tires, fresher tires for the guys behind, clean air, and low fuel for the 72 car. So we're going to have to see which one's going to be their better choice here as we're back to green.
I think Eric, with the clean air and the lower fuel, ought to be able to hang on to it.
Yeah, I feel I'm in a similar boat here as well, Steve. I think Eric's going to be in a pretty good position here. I'll say these cars really enjoy being lighter on fuel, so I say, of course, Eric's going to have to still hustle that car. We know how quick these guys behind him are, as Jimmy Dryden is wasting no time. He's going to try to put a fight on Henry Bennett to grab that second position, because I think these guys both know, hey, if we can be that second car in line here, once Eric Schaus has to pit in about, let's say, 10 more laps, we're going to cycle through as the leader here, and say Jimmy Dryden was able to grab that spot. So now again, this is again even a cat and mouse game for those that didn't top off though. Do any of these guys maybe think they can just kind of use the draft ride, use the correct fuel mixture to try to stretch this run out? Because like I said, it's right on the edge of the window to possibly being able to make it.
Yep, and let's say this. I mean, if this stays green and they all end up having to pit, and Michael Spell is able to win this race by having topped off at the end of that last caution, that changes everything. Because here's something about the scoring system. The winner gets 50 points. Second place gets 40 points, so that's 10 points difference. Third place gets 35, and fourth place gets 32, and after that it counts by twos all the way down to 10th place. So, I mean, needing 18 points and getting a win, that could definitely do it.
Yeah, it definitely is possible. Jimmy Dryden with the power move there, Steve, through 3 and 4. He's able to get to the point. So even Eric Schaus with the lower fuel loads, he was able to get around him. So say now Eric's going to have to try to see if he can get back by that 99. You see Jimmy's going to protect the inside, but we've seen the top side. It's been able to carry some pretty good speed through it a lot as well. So, but right now Jimmy Dryden, he's definitely showing he's got some pretty good pace in that number 99 car. But just again, some of these guys are pretty wily. I wonder if anybody is kind of watching their fuel numbers as well while in this lead pack here. It's like right now you've got Henry Bennett, David Payton, Matt Wagner is in this group as well now. Say Michael Spell right now showing in the 10th spot, about 4 seconds off the lead pack. But again, I think with him topping off, that kind of shows, I think, his hand of what he's going to be going for here. He wants us to go green, and he's going to be going max fuel save on that 88 car.
Yeah, I think definitely.
As I do need to mention, unfortunately, we do have a few retirements. Todd Merkel, with his issues earlier, he went ahead and retired. Looks like Jim Brooks retired after the connection issues that we experienced as well on our end. So unfortunately, that's going to end his championship hopes. And also that 17, that last yellow, Robbie Richards, he has retired as well. So we still have 18 cars on the lead lap, 18 cars in the race, 11 of which are on the lead lap. And then, like I mentioned right now, just the 1 car lap down, the 10 of Anders Arhus. And then 2 down are Julian Altina and Bud Steele. But again, depending on how long this green flag run goes, though, that 10 car might be having to pay here not too long a time.
And these top 5 are running real close together.
Yeah, saying it's about to be top 6. Chad Wilkes about to join the party here as well. And then not too far behind the 37, Alec Coates as well. Haven't talked about Alec a ton tonight, but he is right there in that top 10. Been pretty consistently up there as well. So right now, say the other battles are going to be some of those guys that are going to try to get potentially some laps back as well. Julian Altina in the 31 car, he has been able to get around Bud Steele. So right now he is the highest of those 2 down. But I was saying, you see right there with him the 10 of Anders Arhus, he's in that draft pack as well. But like I said, though, Eric Schaus, Anders Arhus, they're going to be having to pit here in probably just a few more laps here. I'm showing about 33, 34 since their last pit stop, so it's going to be pretty close here, I think, for them to make their scheduled final stop.
Well, this should give us a little bit of an idea of how far Michael Spell might be able to go.
Yeah, so it'll be a little bit with a grain of salt, of course, with the caution laps, but you're exactly right, though, Steven. I mean, right now, Eric, this is going to be starting lap number 35 for him. Anders is showing lap 36 for him now, clicking over to 37. Again, so you can't say with certainty how accurate my numbers are just with the disconnection from the server. So things have to kind of get resynchronized and everything like that, but right now, though, say we got a pretty good battle, and also got to mention Matt Wagner. He is right back in this mix, and I think he wants to get that track position back and as quickly as possible. But the question I have is, I feel like Henry Bennett, I think he's playing possum a little bit here, Steve. I don't think he's shown his full pace in that 007 car. I think he might be kind of showing that he's got a little bit of a strategy under his sleeve. Again, maybe watching that fuel number like we saw with that 88 topping off.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, and we've seen this before. I mean, Henry Bennett tends to be a little bit more conservative and save fuel in situations like this, and we know Matt Wagner does not have a save fuel mode.
Yeah, Matt's got pretty much an on and off switch with that throttle pedal on that 11 car when he needs to. And again, he's probably also driving a little bit angry as well, thinking about knowing that caution really put him in a bad spot there. But again, you still see Eric Schaus. He's still out here in that 72 car. Again, I'm showing 38 laps on this run. So, I mean, based on that, of course, with the potential of yellows and maybe stretching it a little bit, though, but that's probably, if you're the 88 Michael Spell, you're probably feeling pretty good about what you did there. But of course, now the concern is, can these guys, are they able to stretch the distance? I don't think Jimmy Dryden can. I think he's having to run his fuel too hard to keep this pace here up front. Matt Wagner, we've seen him make some pretty big gains from kind of more mid-package to get back into this lead pack. But then the ones I kind of have that question mark on the field numbers are going to be Henry Bennett, David Payton. These guys are sneaky. They know the little tips, little tricks that they can do to stretch those extra couple of miles out of their cars to get them the result they need.
And I'm really wondering how many more. Eric just keyed up his mic. I think he's going to pit this time.
All right, so we suspect we'll see the 72 duck in. Anders Arhus, he is actually in the pits as well. So it's 41 laps for Anders. It's going to be 40 coming to 41 for Eric here as well. And you see Eric giving plenty of room. Loose on the entry. This could bring out it does. It brings out a yellow, and this is going to be a potential break, but I think actually it's going to actually wind up being hurting the 10 we just talked about, Anders, because he was in the pits when that caution came out, and so he's now 2 down, and I believe with all of that going on, that's going to wind up putting him a little bit further back in the group. I think now he's going to be also that 2 laps down with the 6 and the 31 here. So I don't suspect we're going to see a lot of leaders pit here. I think this caution probably is going to get everybody in their fuel window, I suspect. Now the question, of course, is just going to be whether or not drivers want tires or if they just want that track position.
And I know if I'm Michael Spell, I'm hoping that everybody in front of me pits right now, and I'm going to stay out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, again, a little bit of a jump around. Yeah, so there goes Jimmy Dryden. He does pit, but yep, there goes a lot of drivers. They stay out. Matt Wagner, the first of those in the 11 car, he's going to stay out. And you also see Henry Bennett there. Chad Wilkes also staying out. So these guys felt like that was going to put them in their window. So those that did pit, those, Steve, you got Jimmy Dryden, David Payton, Alec Coates, Benjamin Combs, Eric Schaus. And then, but yeah, it looks like about the top 8 or so leaders are going to stay out. So now the question, of course, is going to be the wave around. And I believe it's going to go to the 31 here. Julian Altina, you see him going around down the apron here to grab that spot back. So yeah, so Julian Altina, he just stretched that fuel number, Stevie. So he's on lap 41 of his fuel run. So, but that was able to just enough for him to be able to hold on and grab that lap back. And that now puts him at the only car 1 lap down. So right now, say that, and that was my concern for Anders not pitting there, was that could put him in a bad spot, and unfortunately, that's exactly what happened to that 10 car.
Yep, definitely. I would say that he's probably right around where he's going to end up finishing. So it's really going to be between Spell and Combs here to see if they can gain enough spots to to take over that 8th position in the points. And
Yeah, so and so I'm gonna go
they're
back and
gonna
take a look at that pit entry for Eric and say Rachel. Say never want to show us that Rachel, but yeah, you can see just kind of got caught between the yellow line and the banking there, the flat end, the banking. Actually, you see Julian Altina. Actually, Steve, he was actually slowing down to hit the pits as well, but when he saw the 72 car spin out, he actually grabbed a gear and got going again. So it was that quick decision from Julian Altina that actually was able to get him that lap back. So great heads up driving by that 31 as well.
yeah.
However, I think he's got more problems here, Steve, because I think he may be out of fuel. Was not able to get into the pits after getting that wave around. So I think we talked about him stretching that fuel number, and I think he just went beyond its range there. And you see he's going to tuck in here, take a tow back to the pits. So
no.
now the question is, this might. So this actually could put things now back into. I mean, this is all up for grabs now, possibly, because if that tow takes too long. He's going to go back to 2 laps down, and that would be Julian Altina, Bud Steele, Anders Arhus would be all the drivers fighting for that lucky dog position between the 3 of them. And do need to note, Bud Steele did not pit under that caution, so he should have the track position over Anders, but of course Anders is going to have the fresh tires on that 10 car.
But they're going to need 2 more cautions to get back on the lead lap. So
correct. Yeah, let's say they're going to need some cautions to help their chances out. So, and unfortunately, I'm waiting to double check for sure. I'm showing on my screen that he may have disconnected from the server. Unfortunately, that 31 car. So, what that would do, Steve, is that would bump Bud and Anders up a spot to 12th and 13th, and then of course it would just be the fight between the 2 of them to try to be that lucky dog and get hopefully first the 1 lap, and then of course hopefully then that 2nd lap as well. Pending how the cautions fall. All right, Steve, lights are off. We're going to restart here with 17 to go. Also, do need to mention again here on the Indy Series, there are no green-white checkered attempts, so basically they will race it out. And I'll say Julian just hopped on here to let us know, Steve. So he never got the notification that the pits were open, so he had to run that extra lap, and it looks like that's what unfortunately burned him on that front. So, yeah, it goes one way, looks good, and then just winds up biting you back.
yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah, and probably what he should have done if he was that close was pitted in the closed pit. I think it would just send him to the end of the longest line, which is the end of the line.
That's a good point. Yeah, I can't remember if entering a closed pit. I know there's 2 different penalties. There's the passing under yellow, and there's the entering the closed pit. So yeah, you're exactly right though. Say depending on which one it would be. If it was just entering closed pit, like I said, I think it is the end of the longest line. So I said that would have been kind of no loss there, but unfortunate. But I suspect we're going to see Julian back hopefully some more. We know how quick he's going to be week in and week out. So now we got kind of a sprint to the end. I think this will put everybody in their fuel window. So right now, Matt Wagner, Henry Bennett, they're going to lead up front. Chad Wilkes there in 3rd. Gary Corley up to 4th. Michael Spell in 5th as we get back to green.
I'm watching Michael Spell right now. He did not get a great restart, but it looks like he's starting to close in on the top 4. And he's got some space between him and the people behind him, so he's at least getting somewhat clean air at the moment.
Yeah, so the next group, excuse me, the next group we have to watch is going to be Jimmy Dryden, David Payton. It looks like they actually took just fuel, and I thought they would have taken tires there. However, up front, though, you see the Henry Bennett was able just to clear Matt Wagner there, had to wash up in front of him a little bit. And so now Matt's going to have to try to get the job back done on that 007 here as he gets right to the rear wing of him. And so he's going to peak high here. I think this is where you work high, you drop down low, pick up that toe, and see if you can make this run down the back.
Yeah, these are 2 of the extremely fast drivers in this league. So it's going to be interesting to see what Matt can do with him here.
Yeah, so look at Matt just got all sorts of arrow. Oh, as I say that, behind Gary Corley, he caught the apron there on the front stretch, and I say we talked about that before, Steven. And unfortunately, it's going to catch him out. I think he's going to get away with it damage-wise, just because it's a pretty big spin, but he's going to be able to loop it back around, grab a gear, and get going again. And then, of course, the question we're going to have is you look on the ticker, and I see the 6 of Bud Steele. Yeah, you see there he's a couple of cars ahead of that 10, so this should give Bud Steele one of his laps back now in that 6 car to put him from 2 down just to 1 down. And so I said that was that battle I was talking about between himself and that 10 car, and unfortunately the 10 just on the wrong side of things here.
And that puts Anders Arhus in a situation now where for him to get back on the lead lap, he's going to need 3 more yellows.
Yeah, so and they'd have to be in pretty quick succession as well. So we'll go back here. We're going to watch Gary Corley. Looks like he gets really tight. I'm not sure if it's an apron situation. So it looks like he gets very tight off of turn number 4 and is able to hang on to. But you can see, I think you got that kind of that push loose situation. And then from there, yeah, he starts to cut it back down, brings it. So he actually looks like he's still trying to catch that car a little bit. But then as he gets there, you're going to see kind of just barely touches the transition between the banking and the apron. And as soon as he does that, that car just snaps on him. And that's what we talked about, Steve. We got nervous when we saw it earlier, and that's exactly why. Just it's very sketchy, very risky to do. And unfortunately, I say Gary was in the 4th position there, Steve. So it actually promotes Michael Spell a spot as well. So unfortunately for Gary, so again, the car is okay. He's able just to loop around, grab a gear, and go again. But it's going to need some fresh tires for sure on that 65 car after that slide.
Okay, I haven't done the math, but I think if Michael Spell gains 1 more spot, that might be enough.
So we'll do some calculating here real quick. So what I'm going to put up on our thing the standings again real quick. So the 2 we're going to be watching are going to be Michael Spell. Right now, Michael showing in the 11th position in points. He has 152 points. Anders Arhus has 170 points. So it's an 18-point difference between the 2 of them, Steve.
It's 15 points different between 3rd and 10th.
All right, so yes, that's going to be the next step here. So let me close this window there.
And I think it goes by 1s after 10th, which would mean Anders Arhus. I think they're tied. I think they would be tied.
That would be wild, and it wouldn't be surprising. That's the way these things seem to always happen. So with things running as they are, Steve, Michael Spell in 4th position would give him 32 points. Anders in 13th would give him 17 points. So that's a 15-point difference between the 2 of them as they runs, correct?
Sorry, I missed that. There was a 18-point difference.
Okay, so it's an 18-point difference going into right now. Based on where they're running, it's a 13-point difference on where they stand here currently.
Okay. Yep. And then if Michael Spell gains that 1 more spot, then he gets 5 more points, and they're tied. So he needs 2 more spots. This
is it'll be interesting for sure. And then the other thing to note too here, Steve, is lights are still in the pace car, so we're going to be within 10 to go on this restart. Again, there are no green-white checkers, and the other thing that is going to throw a wrench into all of our math here, Steve, is the fact that we're going to have these 9 races, but we're only going to be scoring the driver's best 8 of the 9 races. So everybody gets 1 drop week, whether it's a race they missed just due to work or circumstances, or maybe just a bad race. So that's going to be something also that could shake things up. Where let's say that 1 bad race, maybe for Anders or for Michael, they may have had a worse bad race, and that could shake the numbers as well. So I'll say we're trying to do all this math and do all these calculations, but in the end, it could wind up being a whole separate deal here. So it's gonna be curious to see how it goes. Do need to mention Dwight Plesh, unfortunately, in the 44, it looks like he's retired as well. So now we have still 11 on the lead lap, 16 still in the race. And I believe lights are going to turn off in the pace car here as we cross for 10 to go. And yep, so we're gonna have a 9-lap, hopefully a 9-lap shootout here. Want to see these guys. Hopefully, they can race it out to the end. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be pretty aggressive here with these guys.
Yep, I think so too. And I was going to say, I guess we can call our current math fuzzy math since we don't really know the answer.
Yes, it will be very, very fuzzy math for sure.
All right, I don't know if Michael Spell has anything for these top 3 guys, but you know damn well he's going to be hammered down right now.
Oh yeah, no, this is where you try to go for everything you have for sure. Because say in front of him though, he's got some of the toughest drivers in the field. To say with Henry Bennett, Matt Wagner, Chad Wilkes. And then you got behind him, you've got James Ledford. To say, I think they usually work pretty well together. So I feel like I'm sure Michael probably feels a little bit safe having James behind him. But then if you look in 6th position, you've got some of those guys that took at least a little bit of fuel, maybe some tires as well. Jimmy Dryden, David Payton, Alec Coates, Eric Schaus. You know those guys want to try to grab some spots. Benjamin Combs as well. We got to mention him as well. He's still in that top 10. So it's all to play for here. So everybody's going to, again, we always joke every point matters. I mean, it's showing exactly why here tonight, as now it's going to be up to Henry Bennett to lead this restart. As you can see, he's waiting a little bit longer. Matt Wagner ready to go, and they are down and away. Great restart there for that 11 car Matt Wagner, though does not lose very much momentum at all to our race leader.
Waste any time getting underneath James Ledford.
Yeah, I got nervous there. I saw a little bit of a connection hiccup. Wasn't sure if we're gonna have the same thing happen again. Matt Wagner, though, he's gonna get to the outside of Henry Bennett through 3 and 4, and I think might be able to keep the momentum up. Steve, he does. He clears Henry Bennett there off of 4. Matt Wagner back to the point here with 8 to go.
Fantastic. Way to go.
So right now you see Matt, he's gonna have to protect the inside line. Do you see a little bit? I say my YouTube is mentioning there's a little bit of hiccups. Hopefully everything's still working for you all. Hopefully quality improves as well. But now Henry Bennett, he's gonna do the exact same thing there off of 4. Steve, Henry Bennett grabs the lead back as we get 7 to go here. These guys right there as well, just to make sure he doesn't get on the rear quarter panel of that 007. Now here comes Chad Wilkes. Chad's gonna join the party here as well. He wants to have a chance of this win here as we got 6 to go.
And Michael Spell is closing in on these guys.
Yeah, Michael's closing the gap here, Steve. He's right in it. We got 5 to go here at Kentucky. Right now, we've got 4 cars all under a blanket, basically, for this win here tonight. A little further back, they're still dicing up as we're going to go 3 wide down the backstretch, Steve, possibly for the lead. There they go for the inside 3 wide here, entering 3. Oh, we saw Matt had to react there to the Chad Wilkes. They has to react again, not to hit him. These guys are giving it their all. Here comes Michael Spell, though, Steve. Big momentum on the top side. See if he can make something happen with it. And surprisingly, Henry Bennett there, Steve, he opens up the top side there off of 1 and 2. I would have not suspected that. We're going to 3 wide again here down the back, entering 3 and 4. Henry Bennett's going to fall back to a 3rd. Now it's Matt Wagner and Chad Wilkes here for the 1st and 2nd spot. 3 to go at the line. It was pretty much a dead heat between the 2 of them here as they go back into 1 and 2. Oh, slight contact between them. Matt somehow hangs onto that car. That's going to promote Michael Spell into 3rd here. And I say, I don't think he's done yet, Steve. He's going to try to do some more here. Great save by Matt as we're going to come across here. 2 to go. Say, unfortunately, just look like a little bit of net code between the 2 of them there. But now Henry Bennett, he's going to try to grab that momentum back up top here with 2 to go.
And Michael Spell just kind of sitting in a catbird seat right now.
Yeah, he's in a good spot. These guys are fighting for everything they're worth. You see Henry Bennett all the way to the apron here. I think both these guys are going to wash up. This could open the door for Michael to try to get a huge run off of 4. And he is definitely got some momentum here. We will get the white flag, Steve. We're going to race this one out to the checkered here. And also right there, David Payton, he's closed the gap as well. 1 to go here at Kentucky. Oh, big contact in the back. A bunch of cars around. We got a 4-horse race here for the lead. So we're going to keep an eye right now. Henry Bennett's going to hold on to it. Chad Wilkes there in 2nd. Michael Spell trying to hang on to 3rd, but he's under attack from David Payton. Michael Spell's going to grab the 3rd position here, though. David Payton 4th. Henry Bennett's going to get the win, though, over Chad Wilkes. And so we had contact at the back coming to the finish, but oh my goodness. that got extremely busy there at the end.
It sure did. And for Henry Bennett, that's 2 in a row.
Yeah, also that's going to be 4 overall wins. You see some drivers here trying to limp to the finish here to try to get their, at least try to get kind of the best finish they can, because that actually could change the results a little bit. I'm not 100% sure. But man, the points though are going to be very interesting. So hopefully we can get those lined up here as quick as we can.
So this, if we did our fuzzy math right before, this Michael Spell finishing in 3rd without taking into consideration drop weeks should put them in an exact tie right now.
That's just the way it seems like it always winds up happening. So we'll definitely have to look at that. So, but we're going to show our race win here, celebrating in the grass here at Kentucky. And same while we watch that. So we'll go back also, Steve. We'll take a look to see what happened there at the very end of the race as well. There's Henry. That was definitely one of the more wild finishes we had this evening. As it was definitely a scrum there with Chad, with Henry, with Matt. Unfortunately, Matt obviously kind of getting the short end of the stick there. But yeah, when it was all said and done, though, Henry been able to pull off the win here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he definitely seemed to be the class of the field tonight, but he had very stiff competition from Matt Wagner and Chad Wilkes and various other people at various points of the race. So just an excellent job of pit strategy and race strategy by Henry Bennett tonight.
So now we're going to go back here, Steve. We're going to see what happened off of turn number 2. See the battle up front there. This is after the white flag had flown. So we'll take a look and see where the contact occurred. You see Eric Schaus on the top, Jimmy Dryden on the inside. And it looks like, I believe, just some of our oh-so-favorite net code between the two of them. You see Matt almost got it cleared. He gets caught up in it as well. Unfortunately, I think might be a similar deal for him. Not actually making contact, but just net code getting the worst of that there as well. And then from there, just it's kind of all hands on deck. Just go where you can to avoid the melee. And unfortunately, you see just a lot of cars getting into this one there at the end. So not the ending a few drivers were going to be wanting, but yeah, a wild one nonetheless. So that being said, Steve, we here got to start with we got to go talk to some of our drivers here. We got to start with this number 88 of Michael Spell. And we're going to see what the points are going to look like, because that was something else here. Let's see if we can hunt him down here. There's he's hiding. All right, Steve, we're going to drag Michael in on over here. All right, Michael, so we were talking about the points going into it. It was going to be tight. And obviously we have to wait for the points to get uploaded and kind of see where the drop weeks fall and things of that nature. But first off, I mean, what a race. We saw you top off on the one to go there. I'm guessing from your point of view, you're probably wanting to see that thing go green to the end, because I think you were kind of going for that fuel mileage plan there to the end.
Yeah, I definitely was. James and I were talking on the radio, and we both were saving and had just really got to the point where I was pretty confident I'd make it, and then the yellow came out. So, but I knew I could make it, but these guys, those guys get incredible gas mileage. I don't know how they do it. So I figured a few of them was going to be able to make it anyway, but I didn't want to see the yellow for sure.
Michael, I got to ask you this, because we were doing our little fuzzy math calculations throughout the race, trying to figure out which of you guys might be able to overtake Anders Aarhus for that last spot. And the way we have it right now, I think you're tied, not counting the drop weeks. So, I mean, were you doing any kind of calculations in your head? Did you know how close it was?
No, I didn't. To be honest with you, I hadn't looked at it in a couple of weeks. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I'm in 8th.
Yeah, I was saying, I just pulled up the points now. I'll say we're able to get the points updated pretty quickly and account for that one drop week. So I'll say this is obviously race number 9. It's going to count your best 8 races. But yeah, it looks like you are just going to squeak ahead and grab that 8th spot, Michael. 2 points over Anders. So you're going to get to fight for the final 4 here and try to see if you can get that playoff championship this season.
Wow, congrats.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I didn't realize I was that high up, to be honest with you. That's awesome.
Well, I'll say, it was your second top 5 of the season, 5th top 10. So I mean, so you've had more than half the races you were in the top 10 tonight. And I'm saying the other thing, of course, to note is just, I mean, you got to be at the end of these ones to have a chance at them. So I guess now the next question, of course, is going into it in these final 3. What's going to be the mindset for these races? Do you just kind of do what you've been doing all season long, or do you maybe now kind of try to shake things up a little bit to kind of roll the dice a little bit against some of these other guys?
Yeah, I'm just going to do what I've done all season. I mean, I try to, not get real racy in the beginning. If somebody gets real racy behind me, I just let them by and, race later in the race. And so, yeah, I'm not going to change anything as far as my strategy. I mean, it's just try to, like you said, you got to be there at the end.
You definitely were there tonight. We were curious to see what you'd be able to do. I think the arrow push, obviously, it made life difficult for you on those last couple laps, but it was a blast seeing you fight through the field there. Like I said, hard fought third finish. Probably feels like a win, honestly, with as crazy as this race was tonight, with everything that had been going on tonight. I know usually, I don't know if he's here tonight or not, but I know usually you have at least your dad watching these ones, so definitely want to give you the floor, though, for some thanks and shout-outs.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's watching tonight, but I'll definitely try to watch the replay of it if he hasn't. But yeah, big shout-out to him and, to all the admins for everything they do. I mean, it's tough sometimes being an admin and trying to keep your cool in certain situations and stuff. And so, big shout out to all them and definitely to you guys for all the work you put in and the great broadcast that y'all put on.
Yeah, great job tonight, Michael. Enjoy that one, and then we'll see you next week. Fight out those 3 races, go for that championship here.
All right, man. I'll do my best. Thanks.
All right, great job.
All right, Steve. Now we're going to jump over to our second place finisher. We talked about the paint schemes needed to find something that would stand out. It's not very easy to miss that 17 car, which is actually the 21 tonight, but that's a whole other thing. That'll get resolved for next week. All right, Chad. We've seen you win in everything this season. And you've been able to get. You talked about wanting to get some of the wins at the big tracks here as well with the Indy cars, and you were right there. It just seemed like this track. It was very odd the way you would think. Obviously, in 3 and 4, it seemed like the middle groove seemed to be where you wanted to be to keep that momentum up. It was a kind of a hard one to tell who had the advantage where, just based on the way this track layout is. I mean, how was it for you, kind of trying to navigate and figure out what was going to be the right call for you, making it all the way through there to the end?
Yeah, I have no idea, to be honest with you. I was just kind of trying to follow everybody in front and just keep my wing as clean as I could wherever I had to run. The inside was really loose in 3 and 4. And this is the first time I've ever actually had to drive an Indy car off the rear wheel a little bit. And I'm very much not used to that. Like, I've literally never had to do that before. So, especially early, I was very, very tentative through 3 and 4. And then I got used to it a little bit at the end, but I still think I was probably losing time in 3 and 4 because I just wasn't comfortable or not necessarily not comfortable. I just wasn't necessarily going to try anything because I was super, super busy today and wasn't able to get any practice in. So, I was coming in completely cold. I came into practice with 2.5 minutes left and ran like 3 laps and then had my qualifying lap. So I didn't really get an opportunity to kind of move around the track and practice to see what was going to work. So I had to, just try to be super conservative during the race and figure it out as I went.
Chad, you're the first one that I've heard say that about it, driving off the right rear in 3 and 4. I ran a lot of practice laps and I didn't feel that. So I'm wondering, did you make any adjustments to the car or it just was that way for you?
No, I didn't make any adjustments. I played around with some stuff early. But with the weight jacker, it ended up making it too loose for me. But it wasn't early in the run. Like it took like maybe the last 15 laps of maybe even 10 laps of those two runs is when you could really feel it, unless you got really, really far inside. But there at the end, for me to like really kind of arc the corner the way I wanted to, like anytime I really throttled up after downshifting, it really kind of, I could feel it moving on the right rear. Like I never, but probably about halfway through a run, being tight was never an issue for me at that point. So I don't know if it was something the way I was driving, but I ended up, the second half of the race was completely stock setting. So yeah, I don't know if that was just something I was experiencing or what, with the way I was trying to drive it, but I don't know.
Interesting. Well, I mean, we did hear that the car loosened up once you got deep into the run, and I never made enough laps to get quite that far. So that may have been it.
Yeah, 100%. Like early in the run, it was tight, obviously, but as the run went on, I really started having to drive it off the right rear a little bit through 3 and 4. Obviously, 1 and 2 you could do whatever you wanted to, but yeah, 3 and 4 was definitely tricky, and I wish I could have had an opportunity to kind of figure it out a little bit before getting thrown to the wolves, because some of these guys are really fast, and so it's really tricky to try to figure out what you're doing while you're racing them. So.
Yeah, they definitely don't make it easy on anybody here, but I'll say, so that's gonna be, I'll say so far season 7's looking pretty good for you though, Chad. Obviously made the playoffs on the super speedway side. You make the playoffs here as well. I'm saying you're sitting very nicely, obviously in points on the cup side of things as well. So I'll say you're gonna be going after, hopefully, I'll say if all goes well, obviously a trifecta of championships over here at Area 51. So I'll say any stress or anything like that going into these final 3 weeks in all 3 series.
No, I want to win really bad. That's like really, really bad. That's about it.
So I guess that's the right approach to be taken. But I mean, again, just awesome job though tonight, Chad. Like I said, having to kind of learn as you went tonight through the race, and say right there in contention at the end. I'll say it was definitely a wild race between you guys going all for that win. A lot of fun to watch as well. So we'll see you on Thursday for the regular season finale on the cup side of things, and then we'll kick off the playoffs on Sunday for the super speedway. So yeah, enjoy this one though, and we'll look forward to seeing you again here soon.
Great job,
Thanks.
Chad.
Thanks, appreciate it.
All right, Steve, that leaves us one driver left to talk to. That is going to be our race winner in that 007 of Henry Bennett. Started from the second position, but say up front pretty much all throughout the race, and I think, Henry, you were one of the few that made that one pit stop kind of midway through the race, and I think that could have been a bit of a deciding factor in things, because a lot of guys had to work really hard to get their lap back or take a wave around there, whereas you were able to stretch that field number. Did you feel like that was the right call, I guess, first at the time, and of course once it all panned out there, you feel like that was definitely the right decision for you?
I mean, before I took the stop, I thought it was the right call. As I pulled into the pits, I thought it was the wrong call, and later on I was on the restart when I had a full tank and old tyres and 13 cars ahead of me. I was definitely thinking it was the wrong call, but I knew obviously I had half a tank more than everyone else, so if I just stuck with it, I'd end up cycling to the front. On these 1.5s, there's always a caution every now and again, especially around green flag pit stop cycles, so it always pays to go a bit longer on the green flag run. So yeah, I mean, it worked out. It was a gamble, but it worked out okay.
Yeah, definitely was a good gamble. It was funny because I was watching all you guys, and I missed you going into the pits, and when we were getting ready to restart, I'm like, "Where's Henry? What happened to him?" And I had to ask Gael. Saw you way back there. He's like, "Oh yeah, he pitted."
Yeah, and after that restart I realized how bad the tires were with the heavy fuel and the dirty air. I was thinking, just before this caution, I was just about to take the lead. I had Matt on the bottom, and he had to lift just as the yellow flag came out. So I was about to take the lead, and now I'm stuck in 13th, and I can't do anything. But yeah, because we had really limited numbers of tires. We had like the tires we started on, and then 2 more sets. It really made the strategy interesting. So I think if we had more sets of tires, everyone would have pitted then, because the tire there was quite big tire fall off. But without those extra sets of tires, it really did make every pit stop a bit of a gamble.
Well, it was fun to watch. I mean, you guys had some amazing battles up front once you got back up there.
Yeah, that second to last caution, when I was leading and Matt had just let me by because he needed to save fuel. Yeah, I was good on fuel because the caution before, with like 40 laps to go, I was saving from the start of that stint, and I probably would have made it on that stint as well with the fuel saving. I put it in a fuel map and I was just coasting behind others. So when that second to last caution came out, I was good to go, and I was really annoyed when the caution came out a few laps later, and I knew everyone else would be able to make it then. And I was really worried with my tyres. By that stage, they were getting quite old, and I knew some people in the back might have had new tyres. And it's really hard to defend from P1. I mean, that restart, I just got overtaken so quickly by Matt, and I didn't know whether to defend on the high side or the low side. I mean, either way, it seemed I could get past easily. And at the end, when I was fighting with Chad, I really didn't think the car would stick at the bottom. I thought it'd plow up, and I was expecting him to just zoom by me on the high side. But looking back at the replay, it seemed his tires were getting pretty bad as well, and he was getting loose on the high side. So, just luckily, the tires held on just enough for me to get that, hold the bottom there in 3 and 4, and get that run to the checkered flag.
Yeah, it was a really good fight between all of you guys. And I was saying, and Steve, I'll say he did answer our question on that part too, in the fuel side of things. We were talking about during the broadcast, like I feel like Henry's got something up his sleeve here. Kind of felt like you were kind of just maybe in cruise control there, like you said after that one yellow, where maybe trying to save fuel to make sure you could make it at the end. We saw one driver top off there at the end of that caution to try to make sure he could make it as well. So. I kind of figured at least somebody was going to, like you said, kind of work on a fuel map and then use the draft and everything to keep up there. So I'm not surprised you said that was something on your mind as well, and saying you definitely worked it to perfection there tonight as well. But I mean, yeah, say just awesome job again. Say so we start the season off, Steve. We got three wins in a row for Charles Teed. Going to finish off the regular season here, 3 wins in a row for you, Henry. Now kind of uncharted territories for us with the first playoff with the league. So I know Dover's first up. That's going to be a very tricky one, very, very difficult to pass. So obviously qualifying will be at a premium there. And of course pit strategy as well. I mean, what are your thoughts leading into these final 3?
I really don't know what to make of it. I mean, it's going to be interesting. That's what I keep saying to everyone. I guess it's going to be important to finish the races to make sure you're in the top 4 to get through to the next stage. I've never raced Dover before, so that's going to be interesting again. But yeah, I guess I can't really change my approach too much. But yeah, I really don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. I mean, it's hard to know what's the right call to make. I mean, obviously not a lot of room for mistakes just with how condensed the playoffs going to be for it all as well. So, but again, great job all season long here. Say obviously finishing off strong here with the 3 in a row. And of course for us, good luck going into those final 3. It's going to be a lot of fun to see all 8 of you battle out for that title. And like I said, first 2 races will be the 8, and then it'll dwindle down to the 4 for that final race where it's the I'd say winner takes all, but highest finisher of you 4 takes all. But yeah, so good luck in that one. Say enjoy this one though for sure, and yeah, look forward to seeing you in those remaining races.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, there's no guarantees, so just going to have fun.
Oh, and I gotta make sure I almost missed a spot there, Steve. I gotta give you the floor though. You gotta give some thanks and shouts for your win tonight. I apologize.
Yeah, Thanks to my team as usual. Powerslide Motorsports. They're working hard on Indy for the month of May, and while I'm having fun here. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting. Yeah, thanks to Jim and everyone for making such a great league. Thanks to Matt for making a really great setup for this race, and yeah, thanks to the whole full field for making a good race.
Nice. I enjoy this one, Henry. I say it's going to be obviously pretty crazy in these final three. But yeah, like I said, month of May is coming up, so it's going to be a lot of fun for the Indy guys. Looking forward to myself as well. Yeah, hopefully we'll catch you here again soon, and maybe we'll find you one of these Indy races coming up in the future weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Congrats.
All right, Steve. Now we got to go over our final results for tonight's event. So as we saw, Henry Bennett getting the win just over Chad Wilkes in second. Michael Spell bringing it home in third, just enough to get him into that final 8 in the playoff position. David Payton there in fourth. Alec Coates brings home a top 5. James Ledford sixth. Gary Corley recovered from his spin to bring it home in 7th. Matt Wagner, unfortunately, was able to limp it back, but unfortunately not the result he was looking for in 8th. So we saw that little bit of contact between himself and Chad Wilkes. It was an amazing save by Matt. I say from where I was looking at, I didn't go back and look at it super close, but it definitely looked like, unfortunately, just the net code kind of striked again with these guys. And some of those guys that got caught up in that last lap incident, you see them showing a lap down, including Jimmy Dryden and Eric Schaus. Not what they wanted there, but obviously still able to grab top 10s though. Then 11th through 20th, you've got Benjamin Combs as well. So we talked about these drivers that caught up in things. Bud Steele, as the Anders are, who's unfortunately just the pit strategy just did not fall his way this evening. He drops to 13th position, and a lot of these guys, 14th on back, a lot of them got caught out by that, unfortunately, that internet connection issue that we saw, including Charles Teed, Craig Forsyth, Ivan Pla, and say Dwight Plush, Julian Altina, Robbie Richards, and Jim Brooks. And say, unfortunately, I always hate when there's just one driver on the last page, but say definitely not the night that Todd Merkel is looking for. Brings it home in 21st position. All right, Steve, that is the regular season done. We've got 9 down. We've got 3 to go, and it's going to be very different 3 races. Say again, starting off at Dover, and then we'll be at Homestead with the finale at Texas. And yeah, I feel like Homestead, I think that's going to be a pretty fun one. Say we got the multi grooves that you can work around there. But I mean, Dover, to me, that's going to be kind of the Bristol or Martinsville of the playoffs, where it's so fast, everything's happening so quickly, and it's just one wrong move and it could cost you your race.
I think Dover is going to be the wild card out of those 3 because I don't know if any of these guys have driven Indy cars on there before, and it's going to be an extremely difficult track to run these cars on.
Yeah, I say Area 51, they have run Dover some before, but you're exactly right. It's a very difficult track. It's definitely a tough one to pass as well. But I think this might be one of the first years where they have it with these cars being able to make the adjustments to the weight jacker and everything like that. So that could definitely come into play. But I think for me, qualifying and pit strategy, I think those are going to be the two telltale things that are going to kind of decide how your race is going to go. Because I have seen in previous races the drivers that make the right pit decisions, either staying out or pitting, that's where they wind up. That's where they wind up having the success. So it'll be wild to say. Obviously, going to be a lot to play for those top 8, but it's going to be fun to be a part of and see how it all turns out.
Yep, definitely going to be an exciting playoffs. I have to say sorry to Anders Arhus, who came in here pretty solidly in 8th spot, and unfortunately, with the bad luck, I think from that disconnect issue, ended up too many laps down to recover.
Yeah, this is a bad luck for him, and unfortunately, it happens from time to time in these races. Just things don't go your way, and again, I mean the drop week, I mean that could have played a role in it as well. You never know, but again, I mean, congrats though to all of the top 8, and just hats off to all the drivers as well. It's definitely a tough situation here tonight for what happened there, because just with that disconnect, but everybody's able to kind of bounce back well from it, and looking forward to next week with you, Steve, and we'll see how things go for the playoffs.
Yep, looking forward to seeing you next week too, Guile.
All right, so for us, we as always we definitely appreciate y'all joining here. Say definitely was a lot of fun in the chat, a lot of activity. I say always enjoy having you all be a part of it on that one. So hope to see you next week as well. Say and look again. Good luck to our top 8 playoff drivers. And so for myself and Steve, if you can, of course, as always, try to stay home, stay safe, and definitely wash your hands. And until Thursday, have a good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.